Miraculous, my dad is at rest. I'm low-key depressed as you can see. Miraculous, terribly dressed. I'm just a smooth-brained NPC.
And with that, welcome to my second video and part 2 of my series where I redesign and rewrite the characters from the show Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. As you can probably guess, today's focus is on Adrien Agreste and his alter ego Cat Noir. In my last video I talked about Marinette and her superhero persona Ladybug. This video picks up right where that one left off, so I do recommend watching it first to get a better sense of the storyline. Before I start, again, spoiler warning. Up to this point, I have seen all of season 1 through 5 and some parts of season 6 as well. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you to stop the video here and come back later. I will start this video the same way I did the last one, by talking about the things I actually like in the original. I think what hooked me the most about this show was the idea of characters having different facets, and depending on the persona, some traits come through more than others. And of course, I also love the tension and the possibilities that come with the revelation and knowledge of certain characters. It's so sad that the show never really managed to tap into that potential. In my last video, I explained that I like the contrast between Marinette and Ladybug. The same goes for Adrien Cat Noir, the perfect model and a charming cat. But in fact, Adrien has 3 personalities: the obedient tool, the charming cat, and Adrien himself, whatever his personality really is. But we will get to that later. I love the tragedy behind Adrien and his background story, and honestly I'm glad they went with the naive and slightly awkward Adrien in the 3D version instead of the snobby, annoyed one from the 2D animation. Don't get me wrong, that kind of trope can also be interesting in its own way, as we can see with Felix, Adrien's cousin, but it's definitely more common. This version of Adrien, I'm gonna call it the Rapunzel trope. You know, from Tangled. Just happens to be male this time. That feels really refreshing. It gives an already adorable character type a new and sympathetic twist. Wait a minute. Is Adrien actually a modern male Rapunzel? I think I absolutely love the idea. What makes this character even better is his alter ego, Cat Noir. Thanks to the power of the miraculous, Adrien gets the freedom he never had, and even more than that. And instead of using it selfishly, like some others in the story, he fully embraces his role as Paris' protector, even though he holds the power of destruction. Honestly, I have grown really attached to Cat Noir as a character. He's loyal, playful, and charismatic, which is funny because most of those traits were usually associated with dogs. But unfortunately, that's where the positive things end. Because Adrien's biggest weakness is, well, his flat personality and his even flatter character development. Like, honestly, with all the tragedy he's been through, you do expect something. But Adrien is just blank. I guess that's how they came up with Cat Blanc. I get that they wanted him to be a little out of touch with reality, since he's been isolated for so long. But in the original show, he's not quirky or sheltered, he's just straight up dumb. What did Natalie even teach him all those years? And yes, I already went off in my last video about how annoying it is that Adrien has been reduced to nothing more than a sidekick, if even that. So let's already get to my version. Let's start from the very back, Adrien's backstory. We are keeping the tragedy of the missing mother, but I am tweaking and expanding it a bit. As I already mentioned in the last video, I'm completely removing the idea that Adrien is a senti-monster. And I'm also cutting the peacock miraculous entirely. I want to keep the number of miraculous as small as possible. In the show there's just way too many, especially considering that the butterfly miraculous could technically create all those powers on his own. That's way too much potential for OP chaos. And even worse, most of it isn't even used in the original. So yeah, out with that. We are throwing it away. Yeeted straight into the trash. The cat miraculous, in my take, stands for destruction and misfortune. Also the end and death. Plus, all the holders of the miraculous are reincarnations, so they embody the miraculous. That's why Adrien brings bad luck. It's also why the cat and ladybug miraculous? Wait a minute. Miraculouses. Oh god. It's also why the cat and the ladybug miraculouses are meant to be together. They balance each other out. Equilibrium. This actually makes sense even in the original story. Emily and Gabriel were both big celebrities, super successful, living that perfect life. All they were missing was a happy family. But you know what they say: quit while you're ahead. The tragedy began only after Adrien was born. Emily fell seriously ill. In my version, it's not because of using a broken miraculous. In my world, those can't be destroyed. No, it was just bad luck. Cancer, one of the most unfair diseases in the world. But it's real, something you can actually grasp. I have personally lost a family member to cancer, and I know I'm not alone. If I were to write a story, especially one meant for kids, I do want it to offer something meaningful, something relatable, something to feel with, and maybe even a lesson how to cope. This heavy burden is what Adrien carries in my version. On the other side, the pain, greed, revenge, and hate that eats you up and get you nowhere. That's what his father, Gabriel Agreste, embodies. That's why Emily officially dies in my story and doesn't just disappear like it's kinda hinted at the original. But I will get more into Emily in the next video, because that's when I'm gonna rewrite Gabriel Agreste and Hawkmoth. Not only the death of his mother, but also the change in his father's personality drags Adrien into a deep depression. But instead of meeting his son with love, compassion, or maybe even therapy, Gabriel chooses strictness, drills, and a rigid schedule. Losing control is compensated by gaining more control. For Adrien, that means waking up early, homeschooling, piano lessons, photo shootings, fencing, interviews, at least 1 hour of cardio every day, fittings, modeling gigs, commercials, more fittings, fan meetups, catwalks, even more fittings, hair appointments, strict meal plans into small time slots, and on and on. All that week after week, day after day. Adrien comes home late and doesn't even have the time to deal with himself or his emotions. And if he does have a day off or a small window of free time, he numbly plays video games. Not only because he is good at it, but because this is something he chooses for himself. In everything else, Adrien is also perfect, but only because people accept him to be. None of it was ever his own choice. So it happens that he spends more and more time at night in front of his console. He shows up overtired to photo shoots and doesn't perform as well anymore. Gabriel notices, but he realizes that being stricter no longer helps. If anything, it pushes Adrien to rebel, dulling his once perfect tool. So he turns to Natalie, the person closest to Adrien, and asks her what he should do. Natalie has felt sorry for Adrien ever since she took her position. She sees the signs of depression and has suspected a burnout for some time now. She advises Gabriel to give Adrien a bit of freedom. Unwillingly, he follows her advice. Then one day, something rare happens. Gabriel and Adrien have dinner together. And during that dinner, Gabriel asks Adrien what he truly wishes for. Adrien has been feeling isolated for a long time. Whenever he steps out of his glass prison, he only ever meets fans. Fans who show up with friends from school. Fans who are happy. He wishes he could feel the same way. So he asks his father if he can attend a public school. Gabriel is outraged. His son, among these peasants, that could not only damage his reputation, but also be dangerous. Adrien could be kidnapped, taken advantage of, or even stalked. This hits Adrien hard. Not even this small wish is something his father is willing to grant him. The first signs of rebellion starts to show. Adrien stays up late, playing more video games, sleeps in and drags himself to photo shoots and fittings without motivation. His performance drops even further. In the end, Gabriel gives in, but only partly. He sends Adrien to a private school, the same one his childhood friend attends, the mayor's child. There, Adrien will be in the class with the elite. Children from famous musicians, government officials like the police chief of Paris, and even one of a wealthy museum director. Side note, in my version, the School of Marinette, I don't dare to say the name,
Collège Françoise Dupont.
or something like that, is a well-known and respected private school. Marinette attends thanks to a scholarship, perhaps helped a little by France's finest croissants, courtesy of her parents' well-known bakery. But the permission comes with conditions. Adrien must keep his grades up, and school must never interfere with his modeling career. His work always comes first. Adrien agrees, and so his life as a student begins. But he quickly noticed something. Even though this school is meant for the elite of Paris, the other students seems normal, just regular teenagers, not isolated like him, not forced to wear a perfect mask all the time. And for the first time, Adrien's confronted with a question he's never truly asked himself. Who am I really? What part of me is real and what's just an act? At first, he stays in his usual role, polite, flawless, emotionally distant, the model version of himself. But something else happens that starts to break that mask. Plague. Right after his first day at school, Adrien finds the cat Miraculous in his room, and Plague appears. That's how Adrien learns he's been chosen to become a superhero. And so he becomes Cat Noir, or in my universe, Shadow Cat. I already mentioned in my last video that I'm changing the superhero names in my version. The main reason is that I see my rewrite as an alternative universe, something similar to Tales of Ladybug and Claw Noir. By renaming all the Miraculous holders, yes, even Hawkmoth, I can keep a creative distance from the original and make it easier to develop my own characters without being tied down. Now we get to the changes for Cat Noir. Even though I love Cat Noir's playful and light-hearted charisma, my version, Shadow Cat, is meant to go deeper. I want him to represent Adrien's rebellious side. In my story, Adrien slowly finds himself through his alter ego and the friendships he builds. Eventually, he will be able to stand up to his dad, Gabriel, instead of ending up, well, locked in a pedal cell with trauma-induced nightmares. Yeah, the end of season 5 really got to me.
When evil comes, I'm locked away. While Ladybug just saves the day.
So Shadowcat will still have humor, but darker, more cynical, a little bit more black comedy to match his outfit. He's going to be bolder, more daring, less of a comic relief, more of a charming rook.
I'm just a smooth brain NPC.
More like Flynn Rider, or some touch of Kaito Sinbad. I also thought that Adrien is used to be admired and is therefore annoyed by girls who wants to be with him just because he is Adrien. He wants to build real relationships rather than just maintain his role as a perfect model. Another reason why the relationship between Adrien and Marinette don't work at the beginning. But Shadowcat, he starts to flirt because he wants to test and find out if people like him for his character and not for his name, looks or status. In my last video I explained that in my version all Miraculous holders have two abilities. The first one is the same as in the original, Cataclysm. With that, Shadowcat can destroy one object, but he can choose how. He can decide whether he wants to destroy just certain parts of it or the whole thing entirely. In my last video I also mentioned that big structures like the Eiffel Tower would still count as a single object. Same goes for a car or a building. Even though they are made of many parts, they still count as one thing. And Shadowcat can choose how he defines the object he wants to destroy. The second ability is brand new, my own creation. Lady Red has Lucky Charm, which allows her to summon something that brings good luck. So Cat should logically be able to bring targeted bad luck. That's why I came up with Catastrophe. With this power he can touch a person, leaving a glowing green paw print. And as long as that mark is active, that person will experience bad luck. I really like the idea. It makes Cat a crucial part of the battle without needing to constantly fight physically. Lady Red wouldn't be the only one saving the day anymore. She would do it with the help of Shadowcat. Lady Red also have passive abilities like gliding. Cat has night vision. And out of all the Miraculous holders, he is the most likely to land on his feet. In my last video I already mentioned that I didn't originally plan to make a full YouTube videos out of these redesigns. That's why the first design ended up looking too mature. At first I also redesigned Adrien's outfit to match the original style instead of my headcanon, so maybe just ignore my first sketch. Adrien is a model and the son of a rich, eccentric fashion designer. And what does he wear every day? Exactly, orange sneakers. To be fair, Gable doesn't exactly have the best fashion sense either. I imagine that Adrien only wears the latest collections from Gabriel. And that not only Natalie controls his schedule, but also picks out his outfits. Every day she lays out what he's supposed to wear. At home I imagine that whenever his father isn't around, he walks around in hoodies and sweatpants, to showing his detachment and depression. I have this image in my head of him sitting completely numb in his style room on that uncomfortable white couch that's way too big for someone who never gets visitors. And at night he's slouched in front of the console in his lazy clothes, effortlessly crushing one opponent after another online. Destruction is in his blood, even in the virtual world. Once I'm done with all the redesigns, I'm planning to rewrite individual episodes, kind of like a dubbed comic, and that includes the episode The Gamer. I couldn't resist visualizing this particular scene, so here it is. Later in the story, he will start choosing his own clothes more often. I imagined maybe he would slowly lean more toward the casual style from the first sketch, but I'm not sure about his own style yet. But I definitely know that over time, Adrien would adopt more and more of Shadowcat's merch, and by the end, he would even wear it openly and proudly, and everyone would be like, oh, how cute, my idol has an idol. But in reality, it's just him admiring himself. But Adrien isn't celebrating himself out of vanity. He is celebrating the lifestyle that Shadowcat represents, the feeling he connects to his alter ego. Wearing that merch in his daily life helps him remember who he really is and what kind of freedom he deserves. I think that idea is kind of adorable. Since Adrien is always in the spotlight, Shadowcat likes to move in the shadows and use the element of surprise to his advantage. A bit sneakier, something he can't be in his normal life. That's why I wanted to give him more of a rook look, instead of his usual SM latex boy fit. For that I choose a long coat with a hood. In my first design this is less obvious, but his cat ears are on his head, not on the hood, so he can be seen with or without a hood. Also, I wanted his outfit to look a bit more like an armor, since unlike Ladybug, he is more involved in close combat. I have heard some people criticize the bell in his design, but sorry, I love it. A, because I love anime and it looks super kawaii, and B, the symbolism behind it is brilliant. Only cats that are owned wear collars with bells, and since Adrien is owned by his father, he wears the bell. It shows his emotional captivity and obedience to his father because the other cat designs in the show don't have a bell. But screw the symbolism, because I love chokers and I love bells. I already redesigned Lady Cat too, and she also wears a bell, because point A is deeply ingrained in me. Kawaii! In my design, the bell is silver, not gold, because don't mix the metals. That's something that drives me super crazy design wise. But the most important change is his black hair. I wanted a bigger contrast to Adrien. Adrien is the sunshine, but Shadowcat is the night. And even though I love golden retriever blonde boys, edgy mysterious emo boys are totally my jam. And the contrast between them two, I love it. Okay, let's get to Adrien and Shadowcat's final design. For his Adrien form, I wanted to keep that slightly naive, slicked back golden retriever vibe. A handsome little sunshine dressed in way too expensive clothes. I seriously struggled trying to make his hair look neat and smooth and give his outfit a snobby vibe because I personally hate both. I love messy layered wild hair and alternative clothing, but at the beginning, Adrien is the exact opposite of that. With this design, I wanted to portray him as an empty but expensive looking shell. No normal 16-year-old dresses like this by choice. His clothes look too polished and too grown up. His hair also has this classic sunny boy look with every strand perfectly in place. I even had to stop myself from giving him that one single sticking up anime hair, cause even though that would have hinted at his real personality, Adrien has already submitted too much to his dad. He has perfected the act of being perfect. But all my cravings for messy rebellious hair and cool alternative badass looking clothes, I let it all out with Shadowcat. That super cringy edgelord name, it fits more and more with my version of Cat Noir. Just like with Lady Red, the Cat Miracoules also changes a view of Adrien's features. Shadowcat is taller and more muscular. His eyebrows are sharper and he has fangs. Unfortunately, you can't see them in my drawing. His hair is messier, longer, and black with green highlights. His eyes have more toxic green color, and even the whites of his eyes are green, just like in the original. His skin is much paler, and the ends of his arms fade into black, like they have been dipped in shadow. Also, his human ears are hidden under his hair. Some details you can't see in my design but are canon in my head. Shadowcat's shoes and gloves have paw pads on the inside. And on his back there's a paw print embroidery, similar like that one from season 6. I didn't just redesign Ladybug years ago, I actually redesigned Cat Noir too. In this old version you can see the paw details much more clearly, and again you can tell I mostly used the older design as the base for the final version. I really struggled for a long time with whether I should give Adrien some kind of bodysuit as a top, but in the end I decided against it. I felt like it was a bit too sexy for a 16-year-old. I don't want to over-sexualize any of the underage characters, also the male ones. If you still like the idea, I don't mind, as long as the Shadowcat is at least 18 in your headcanon. I know how horny the Miraculous community can get. I have to admit, out of all the Miraculous redesigns I have done so far, Shadowcat's design is my absolute favorite. I have already finished some of the other holders, or at least sketched out rough versions, but nothing hits quite like Cat's outfit. It's still my personal number one. There will definitely be more looks from Adrien's wardrobe in the future, showing how his fashion evolves throughout the story, but for now, you will have to be content with this little preview. In the next video, I will redesign Gable Agreste and his villainous alter ego Hawkmoth. So stay tuned, and until the next time, claws out. And here are few outtakes to showing his apathy, revenge, and hate that eats, and hate that eats you up and gets you nowhere. That's what his Vater. Ich fick seinen Vater. Ich fick seinen Vater hart, weil ich nicht Revenge aussprechen kann. Und fucking Vater, weil mein Vater hört sich deutsch wie Scheiße an. Ich bin Lina. Ach, hallo, ich komme aus Deutschland. Vater, mein Vaterland ist Deutschland. Is a prestigious, prestigious, oh. Equilibrium.
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium. Equilibrium. Equilibrium. Das hat sich wunderschön angehört. So macht man das. So sagt man das auf Englisch, ohne sich anzuhören wie ein rechtsradikales Missstück aus Deutschland. I love the tragedy behind Adrien and his background. Nicht Background Story. Wieso will ich immer Background Story sagen? I love the tragedy. I love the Blядь, сука. Test. Kawaii. Kawaii. Oh Gott. Kawaii. Oh, ist das dumm. Das ist dumm. Ich streich hier fucking Hentai-Scheiße am Morgen rum. Oh, die armen Nachbarn. In my last video also mentioned that big structures. Ich fick deine Mutter. Ich fick deine Mutter so hart mit einem Big Object, ey. Fucking Scheiße. I just realized. Adrien is literally. Ist deine Mutter, okay? Adrien ist deine fucking Mutter. Ja. Miau, 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 miau. Miau, 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 miau. Miau, 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 miau. Miau, 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 miau. Miau, 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 miau.